The views and opinions expressed during this podcast are those of the author, and any content provided by the host or the guests of this podcast are based on their own opinions and upon information that they consider accurate or reliable. It should not be relied upon as such. The content should be only considered for entertainment purposes only.
Thanks.
Pot moms rule.
Hi, I'm Kait. I'm a hardworking mom of 3 who smokes pot. And I'm tired of feeling bad about it. And I'm tired of hiding it. I'm no longer downplaying the helpful benefits of consuming cannabis to make other people feel comfortable. And it turns out I'm not alone. Let's break that stigma together. Welcome to Season 2 of the Pot Moms Podcast.
Nice.
This season, we've got a lot of fun things in store. More education, more reviews, more smoke sessions, more hearing from listeners about their experiences with cannabis. And, of course, more fake or real new strain name games.
That's dope.
Except make it video. We're going to be doing as much as we can on video this season. Creating a community during these isolating times is important, and I know I, for one, need it. This first episode of Season 2 features the Kevin Smith. Kevin is a writer, actor, director, dog dad, human dad, husband, vegan, entrepreneur, cannabis consumer and advocate, and so many more things. Kevin has been a longtime inspiration through his work to break the stigma, his self-confidence, his self-promotion, and overall, he's a really dope guy. Kevin became a wake and bake stoner at the tender age of 38. And his first time smoking weed was with Seth Rogan. Eeeeeeee! He actually credits him with breaking his stereotype of the lazy stoner. Weed makes Kevin feel like who he really is. And I think that's really powerful. Enjoy this episode because I know I sure as shit did. Watch me freak out as tech wins and Kevin Smith continues to amaze. A shout out and thank you to Kevin for making this happen and for everyone who has helped make Season 2 a reality. Head on over to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you can be the first to be alerted to new content. You can also listen and subscribe to the podcast through Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. As always, check out www.popmomspodcast.com and subscribe to our email list. Lastly, follow us on Instagram at popmomspodcast. New content released weekly on Wednesday. Welcome to the PMP.
The Pop Moms Podcast. It's the Pop Moms Podcast. Hope it's on.
And away we go. Okay. Can you hear us?
Yay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin Smith, for taking time. This whole thing.
No problem. It's just on a podcast called Pop Moms, when they can't get the tech together, you're kind of understandable.
Right.
It's right there in the title. The pop part means that there's always going to be, wait, does this work? How does this work? Oh, shit, it doesn't work. But we got it to work. Here we are on audio, man. And also, to be fair, like everybody hitting, at least in my neighborhood, the internet right between noon and 4 o'clock. That's when it's like the traffic is the absolute worst. And since everybody's home, it's tough to kind of get a clear video signal through.
Got you. Okay. Well, yeah, that was a totally crazy way to go ahead and start that. I feel like...
Yeah, no worries. Fun as hell, man. That's real. That's what makes it authentic.
That's true. And we have video of me just like freaking out over it. So that'll be fun to go ahead and relive a couple more times when I edit. So that's totally awesome.
Yay.
Okay, so we are the hosts of the Pop Moms Podcast, and we're advocating for the normalcy of cannabis use for everyone, and specifically moms.
I'm Eunice.
And I'm Kait.
I'm all for that. I've turned my mom on to weed, my own mother, years ago. She's more of a vapor with the pen and stuff like that. Flower hits her a little hard because she was never a smoker in her entire life. But it's done worlds for her. She has that restless leg syndrome. And, you know, aside from having heart problems and all the health problems that she has, is like a 73-year-old woman and stuff, you know, is one less prescription she has to throw in her for the restless leg syndrome, because she can use weed, man. Like, so I'm all for pot, as we all know, and I'm all for pot for moms. But you guys are in a state, and I'm in a state too, where it's just like, of course, weed for all, legal free for all.
Yeah, totally.
But in a lot of parts of the country, of course, it's still not like it, man. And I spend a lot of time online on social media and doing podcasts and streaming and stuff. And sometimes I forget that the rest of the world is not like my own backyard, you know, where it's just like, I'm sitting around all day smoking weed, and people are like, lucky you. I live in a state where I get arrested for that kind of shit. So I was kind of hoping before, you know, that like a year ago, that this would be the big election issue going into the 2020 election, the idea of like legalization. But that seems to be pushed way back now in the face of the quarantine and COVID and stuff like that. So it'll probably be at least another 2-3 years before we see nationwide legalization like they got up in Canada. But at least, you know, you guys and me, we're in some pretty safe places where we can toke like crazy. But it should be like that for everybody, for heaven's sakes, especially now. Like, oh my God, could you imagine all these people stuck in the house, man? Like, I'm sure a lot of them have access to weed, not through legal channels and stuff, but like, it just takes the edge off, man. It makes it a lot easier to stay in one place and shelter in place. I wish it was legal nationwide at this point, but looks like it'll be a minute.
Yeah, I thought the same exact thing. It's been such a lifesaver for like a lot of moms that we talked to too. You know, like kind of in the beginning we came in and it was a little bit more like I felt bad because my intake went up. But then I was like, well, do you want to be like a horrific monster to your children, or do you just want to be a little higher? And I chose the latter. And
also in terms of intake going up, we're talking about a substance that won't make you an addict, right, for heaven's sakes. It's not like I increased my dosage and I got even more hooked. Like, this is coffee. This is the way I always think of weed. It's exactly like coffee. I don't drink coffee, but my wife can't function without it and stuff. So, you know, I see people throughout the day walk around past a Starbucks. Everybody lines up for coffee and whatnot. Weed to me is coffee. It's the thing that makes me go. It's not, it doesn't make me sit down and want to be in one place. I don't know how I metabolize it, but, and it doesn't matter if I'm smoking sativa or an indica. Weed is my starter's pistol. And I think that came from years ago when I decided to become a wake and bake stoner at age 38. I was like, you know what? If you're going to do this, you haven't been this your entire life. You know, prior to age 38, I could count on like two hands the amount of times I'd smoked weed across the entire spectrum of my life, which some people find weird because, you know, Jay and Silent Bob. But I was, well, that's just movies. Like, you know, it wasn't until I was age 38 I worked on Zach and Mary Make a Porno with Seth Rogan. And he, of course, is a world-class stoner, man. And the first stoner I ever met who's a functional stoner.
He's awesome.
I.e., like, you know, I'd always believed the stereotype because any stoner I knew, like, couldn't get anything done, couldn't put things together. But Seth was the first functional stoner I ever met. And he said, there's a bunch of us in this business, people that smoke a fuck ton of weed, but we're incredibly productive and get shit done all day long. So he broke the stereotype for me. We didn't even smoke the whole movie. It was the last day of the show. My friend had been saying, like, man, Seth wants to smoke with you. And I was like, yeah, but I don't smoke weed. And he goes, he don't know that. He thinks you're Silent Bob, man. And he's a cinematic stoner icon, and you're a cinematic stoner icon. You got to smoke together. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I could never smoke weed and do anything, much less make a movie, you know. And so it wasn't until the end of the show, last day of production, we were just doing pickup shots with Seth. And I finally said to him, I was like, hey, man, how about later on we come up to the editing room and we'll watch some stuff, and then you and me smoke some of that weed I hear so much about. And he was like, finally. So at that point I smoked, and I absolutely loved who I was that night. I was so free. I wasn't like, I got to put up a performance of Kevin Smith, what people expect. I just was Kevin Smith, if that makes any sense.
Yes, totally.
I feel that.
And I loved it. And I was like, oh, heavens, I feel like who the fuck I really am and stuff. And then I didn't smoke again for months. Like, let's say that was, let me see, March, April. I didn't smoke again till July. And in July, I live in a house with my wife and our kid, and my wife's parents have lived with us since our kid was very small. So we got 5 people in the house and stuff. And, when Byron and Gail, that's Jen's parents, would go out, they would take the kid. So they went away up to Big Bear for the weekend. And so I was like, oh my God, we have the whole place to ourselves. Let's be fucking transgressive. Let's do something naughty. Let's, I don't know, fucking bring in hookers or something weird because we don't have our parents here. And Jennifer was like, don't we have weed left over in the safe that we got from Trish for Christmas? And 2 years prior, her friend Trish had left weed for us that just sat in the safe. And I was like, yeah, oh my God, let's go do that. And so I rolled the worst joint on the planet.
That's for your second time smoking weed, basically.
Kind of and the first time smoking with her.
Yeah.
And so it was, look, at the end of the day, it did the job. Didn't need a primo rolling job because, we just had to ingest it. And in ingesting it, I loved who I was. And we had such a great night. Aside from oh my God, we had great sex and shit. We grabbed a cab because this was before the days of Uber. And went to this restaurant, don't exist anymore in LA, called Simon, which had this dessert platter called the Circus, and it had cotton candy.
Oh my gosh.
Deviled dogs, homemade cupcakes, peanut butter shake.
Oh my God.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Oh, it's just stop your heart. And we sat there feeding each other this thing obnoxiously, man. It was tremendous. And so after that, I was like, you know what, man, I'm 38 goddamn years old and I built my shit from scratch and whatnot. I should be able to smoke some weed if I want to, because I grew up in the age of the 80s. I was born in 1970. Mm-hmm. And so while I was growing up in the 80s, that was the Nancy Reagan just say no era where they equated pot with fucking cocaine and heroin, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm. It was the gateway drug.
So there was a bias built up over a lifetime. And then, finally I'm like, this is crazy. Seth Rogan doing a bunch of shit. Not only is he making my movie, he's making 3 different better versions of my movie that he ad-libs. And then he goes back to his trailer and works on another movie with his buddy Evan and stuff. He's always productive. So I was like, maybe I can smoke some weed as an adult. Every night I can have a joint, man. And so I started smoking
a little adult treat.
A little bit. I was like, it's time. I'm a parent, for heaven's sake. So at 6 o'clock at night, I started having a joint for a week. And then I was like, this is great. But I don't really have a real job, so I probably don't have to wait till 6 o'clock. So maybe I can roll that back to noon or something like that. And then I started smoking at noon. And after a week of that, I was like, life would be so much fucking better if I just, started this the moment I wake up. What was the point of pretending to get to this? This would really get me out of bed. And so I became a wake and bake stoner. And I made a promise to myself where I was like, look, if you're going to do this is a massive life change, a massive shift. Everybody who knows you, even the people that patronize your work, even though you've made movies about stoners, you've not been a fucking stoner before. Who knows what kind of dynamic this will create? So if you're going to do this, you have to choose to be creative at every given moment that you're going to smoke. So if you're lighting a joint, you got to be working on a script or recording a podcast or doing this or doing that. I had to tie it to productivity so that I could be beyond reproach. I didn't want to be criticized for becoming a stoner at age fucking 38 and shit. So my idea was as long as I'm productive, nobody can say anything. Mm-hmm. It's not oh, he started smoking weed and then fucking he just slacked off. So my productivity from 2008, 2009 forward increased 5-fold. I do way more shit now than I used to do before I was a stoner.
Well, because it's all just so much more interesting. You know what I mean? And your creativity can flow.
Yeah, and also I want to smoke a lot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So in order to smoke, I got to be doing something. So it just forces me to be more productive, more creative. And as a byproduct, because I want it, this is the path that I've chosen. This is what I want for myself. And now I got to fashion my world so that I'm not disrupting anybody and stuff. But because of that, suddenly I was able to design in a complete lifestyle that's predicated on mostly being around the house. So when this quarantine began, I was like, I'm all set. I've got this down to a science. I've been sitting in the house smoking for a while.
Yeah, you also have a drone that
Yeah, I'm
delivers.
like, you have.
I know.
If I had a
should,
drone
yeah.
delivering me weed, I don't think I'd ever leave my house. Like,
That's marketing that works. That's adorable. That wasn't real at all. The guys that run Caviar Gold, Caviar Mike, he's the guy that makes our weed. We make this Jay and Silent Bob. We make Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies, and
It's amazing.
present-
so good.
It's so
It's
good.
so good.
Yes.
Oh, he does such a
so
great
good.
job. That
Yeah.
Caviar Gold shit is the truth. And like I sought him out because I'd been smoking this weed. I buy it from a place out here called Herbarium. And so I loved his weed, and I did this like a little short called the Cavi Challenge where you have to smoke it in 15 minutes and stuff. And when I was done, somebody was like, "You should meet Mike." I was like, "Who's Mike?" And he's like, "He's the guy who created all this." So I met him and I said, "We got this movie coming out, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot." And in the movie, they smoke 3 strains that they've created. Man, I want to create that in real life with you, with your weed. So he created 3 different profiles of weed. One is sativa, one indica, and one was a hybrid. But he puts distillate into his weed, so it jacks his top shelf flower right the fuck up, man. So it's like the Snoogans, which is the indica stuff. The fucking Snoogans joint. Let me grab so I can read the THC. I got one here, and on it says THC, cannabinoids, THC, 54.18 milligrams.
Oh my God, that's wild.
And he also jacked CBD into this motherfucker now. So it's got 46 milligrams of CBD on top of it. So this is like, the Snoogans joint is like what a lot of people, like I smoke half of that and I fall right the fuck asleep.
It's like taking a blanket out of the dryer and putting it around your body.
Oh, you are not kidding. But as a productive stoner, somebody who fancies himself a productive stoner, I like to try to, every once in a while, I don't do it all the time, but I like to fucking start the day with the heaviest fucking shit and work through that. That makes the day a little more fun, where it's just like.
That's what I do every day, actually. I need it in the morning. I need the stoniest stuff in the morning because I'm not a morning person. So I need to just, for me, that's like a good way for me to like get going for some reason. Like doing a jump start, just I can't function. I can't get myself straight. So
True.
Yeah,
That's your morning coffee, man. And you know, there's some people, because I grew up with the stigma of like, this is drugs or whatnot. But I would suggest this for any parent, not just a pot mom, but a pot dad, a pot grandparent, anybody that has to deal with not just a child or an offspring, anybody that has to deal with anybody in this fucking world. Because right now, we live in probably the most hostile era short of the Old West, when motherfuckers just shoot each other in the street or something like that. Don't be a part of that, you know? Like, that's the only, you can't change people. People are what they are. A lot of them are going to be hostile and stuff. The only thing we could do is not add to that. And by being a stoner, I don't know any hostile stoners. I don't know anybody who jumps out of their manager bag as a stoner, man. I'm not saying necessarily we keep the peace, but we don't start shit. And if you don't start none, there won't necessarily be none. So I advocated for everybody except kids. Like I remember when I was in high school, you know, there were a lot of stoners and stuff. You know, now I'm an adult as a stoner. I'm like, kids don't need this. Like life is wonderful when you're a kid. Like life gets fucking hard later.
You're basically high all the time. Like that's the whole thing about being a kid.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. You're like living.
Yeah, it's a
That's why
natural
when you
high,
smoke
yeah.
weed, you feel like a kid. That's why I went down the slip and slide the other week.
Exactly. Kids don't need this, but adults, fuck yeah. I realized that weed was going to be a part of my matrix the moment I cognized, oh shit, there is way more fucking time behind me than there's probably going to be in front of me. The moment I started thinking like, oh my God, I forgot, like this all ends and one day I fucking die. Weed made it so much easier to deal with, you know, because suddenly you're smoking and you're like, yeah, but still, let's get some shit done before that happens. You know,
and then flex.
Yes. You don't have a defeatist attitude. I've never met a defeatist stoner. You know, we're full of ideas. Not all of them good, but it's true. It does. Some people have been like, asked me, does it make you write better? You know, because I fancy myself a writer in life. I said, no, it does not make you write better. However, it will make you open to ideas that previously you would have chucked out. Previously, you would have been like, oh.
No.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
Do you work out better when you're high? Like when you go, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you use that like in, you know, created a pretty strict regimen for yourself after your health scare.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Made you do it?
Well, number one, I'm just always fucking high. So it's not like I get stoned before I work out. There's always THC in my system. The wonderful thing about working out is THC stores up in fat cells. So as you do anything, cardio, as you're breaking down any fat cells whatsoever, it's releasing stored THC. You're getting like secondary jolts of old THC that's been just sitting in your fat cells. So when I started losing weight after the heart attack, I went vegan. And that eliminates like most of the shit that put on weight in the first place and whatnot. And then I became an intermittent faster. So like I eat, back in the day, I used to eat on like a 16-8 clock. So 16 hours of fasting and then an 8-hour feeding window.
Yeah, same here.
But I got that down to like 20 hours of fasting with a 4-hour feeding window.
Wow.
It's easy though. It's like crazy easy.
It's just about getting in the routine of it.
Yes.
Like I've been doing 11 to 7.
Oh, that's great.
Like sometimes I'll go more but I will just eat during that time. And like, honest to God, it gets easier.
I'm the
and I like it.
opposite.
I feel so much better.
I'm like the
eating that
opposite
way.
of both of you. I graze for about 20 hours and fast for 4.
That was I used to love that. That was my old life. I miss that sometimes. I mean, one of my favorite things in the world to do, even probably more than sex, is lay in bed, watch TV, and eat food, man. Like there's no.
Oh my God, me
And
too.
high.
Me too.
Stone
What's your
is
favorite?
the
What's your
best.
favorite?
Oh, you
What's your
can-
favorite?
I start
show
like
and your
I'm a
snack.
big Beyond Burger fan, so I will make 2 Beyond Burgers, bring them down with me, and then I've got these vegan potato chips that are made with like potato and sorghum, and then there's this amazing vegan ice cream that I dig into, Van Leer's, that's like just insane. So I watch. I'm programmed. Like as a kid, we used to sit in front of the TV, eat a TV dinner, and watch TV. So like, we're not supposed to eat that way. We're supposed to kind of sit down, eat, and then get up and go. It's not about entertainment. It's about, fueling the body or something like that. But when you're watching TV, you're combining 2 amazing pleasures at once, man. And you can just feed, depending on how long the program is. If it's 30 minutes, you are literally feeding for 30 minutes straight. If it's 2 hours, you are making that last for 2 hours. And people aren't meant to eat that way and stuff. That's why Americans look the way they do. So I still do it. It's the one like luxury I still afford myself. When I break my fast, I usually do it right in front of fucking TV and stuff. Like in a world where I haven't eaten 20 hours, not only am I going to enjoy this food, but I'm going to fucking enjoy it while enjoying something else. But it's really not the best way to do it, they say. The idea is to like sit down at a table, away from everything, feed and walk away. But like, especially in this time of quarantine.
Yeah, man.
Where there are so few pleasures to run to or get lost in. The idea of watching things while eating, I think, has really captured the entire world at this point. Like it's become everybody's favorite pastime. I remember going into the quarantine, like, I'm here with my wife and her parents were with us as well. And my daughter and her boyfriend are locked down with us as well. Going into the quarantine, I was like, we are going to have so much sex. And that did not happen at all. Like, it just like, because you feel like, oh, there's so much time. And really what it is everyone's in the house. So you can't really get anything going on.
Yeah.
But like, since we can't go to sex, the next best thing is like, let's watch some Simpsons and eat some fucking ice cream, and that's in some ways absolutely better and stuff. So yeah, I love sitting and eating and watching TV, but I tried to eliminate food as entertainment. Like I used to do food as reward. Like I'm just going to do this and then I get to eat. And still it is a bit of that even in my 20/4 hour fast. Cause you just heard me. I'm like, God damn it. After 20 hours, I get to watch TV and eat food. That's taking food into a reward based system. And if you're, anyone could reward themselves on a regular basis, then you lose control of your eating. So what I also try to do is substitute my greens with my greens. So sometimes when I'm like, oh, I can watch the show and eat, I'm like, you know what? Watch the show and fucking smoke a joint because, you're going to get something else out of it. You're going to enjoy it on a whole different level. You just want something to do while this thing is going on because you're a spoiled little human being who came from America who can't just focus on one thing. So since you're such a child that you can't just watch your program and enjoy it, if you must do something in conjunction with it, leave food to the side, spark the fuck up, and you'll enjoy this program even more.
I used to sit like in my spot on the couch, and I had this pipe that it was ergonomic, so it would like sit on your lip. You could just sit it on your lip for a long time and your lip wouldn't get tired. But I would hold it in my hand in a certain way and then have my lighter tucked in, and I would just sit like that from the moment I got home, and this is pre-kids, and walk around the house, and like everything, it was always just in my hand to like until I went to bed, and that's how I would watch TV. And that, to your point, it would keep me from like just eating everything in the house from the time I got home until I went to bed.
It is one of those, like, people outside of, the space, outside of the weed space, of course, like I was at one point, always have the misinformation of like, yeah, but if I smoke weed, it's going to give me the munchies. And I've found that that's not necessarily the case. I mean, like, I increased my weed intake, at least, 100-fold, clearly, when I started smoking. And I've been smoking weed now. It's coming up on like 12 years. I'm going to be 50 in August. So at that point, 12 years of smoking weed, I remember in the beginning, the kid was young and I had to kind of like keep it away from her and stuff. Thank God the kid's about to turn 21, so I smoke with her. What is it like for you guys? How old are, as pot moms, what kind of kids are we talking about? How old?
I have a 3-year-old.
Ugh.
And I have a 2, 4, and 8-year-old.
Oh my God, you guys deserve all the fucking pot, for heaven's
Thank
sakes.
you.
Man.
We agree.
Oh my God.
And we abide.
Like, if one small one alone is like, I couldn't even imagine at this point. Jason Mewes, my closest friend in the world, him and his wife Jordan, they have Logan, their daughter Logan. She's 5 years old. And so their lockdown quarantine experience has been completely different from mine because my kid's grown up, has a boyfriend, so she's like taking care of herself and whatnot. And we see each other periodically. But Jason and Jordan are on, like you guys. Yeah. You're on 24/7. You're also the school. Yep. You're also like, we gotta entertain you. You also have to explain to them why we're in this situation and why
meals.
They can't see their
friends. You have to make so many meals
and snacks, all day snacks.
Like, my God, I feel like all I do is. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it's insane.
What is, so give me your daily experience, man, from the wake up to the go to sleep. When do you wake and get to smoke and then start the day? Or do you have to do your shit before you could get to a smoke? And where does one smoke? Like, you must have, do you have space in your house that's yours, or do you have to go outside because you got kids?
So like I'll go. So I love my morning routine. Sometimes. So I'll usually wake up at about 5 to go ahead and get some like kid-free work done, and I take all my vitamins, and I take exactly 2 hits of this off my vape, like as I blow into my closet. I'm not kidding. I'm painting you the full picture. So I do that, and I blow it into the closet because I don't want the smoke to like hang out in the bathroom because I would just feel bad about that. And then I immediately like task oriented. I go and I sit down in front of my computer or like any things like project based things that I have to do for work. And, I just sit down and I do as much as I can. We have chickens in our backyard, so I let the chickens out about 6:30, and then the kids kind of start waking up at 7, but they do this really cute thing where they actually want me to come back to bed in order for them to wake up. So then they come into our bed, and then we, like, someone ends up getting hurt. That's like every morning something happens, like a knee to an eye or something like that. My daughter just flat out slapped the 2-year-old across his face the other day. So then we do the like breakfast dance, right? Like for whatever reason, we let our kids have Lucky Charms one time, and now like it's just a struggle. But I make them eat the entire cereal before I will give them more. So like we have carryover cereal like from the day before that they have to eat before I'll give them any more with marshmallows, which is just like funny. Yeah. So we have carryover cereal, and then. Usually we try to do some of the like education stuff because like my 8-year-old has like Zoom meetings or he has to do stuff in his apps, and then I'll take time with the 2 and 4-year-old and read whatever, and then we kind of have this like weird dance between then and lunch where I'll usually put on like a YouTube for like like songs.
Right.
My mornings are so much different than hers. But the main reason is I've been smoking for I think at my office, there I had a couple teammates who had been alive for less years than I'd been smoking pot. So
Wait, can you smoke? We smoked outside.
Yeah.
But what do you guys do when you're at work?
So I vape. I bring my vape. It's easier, and I just go
Can you
outside.
smoke flower outside, or is that frowned upon?
I think it's pretty our campus, where my building was on the campus. There wasn't a lot of open air spaces, so there I didn't like to smoke. But where we were when you were out there, because it's so much more open there.
And so people can gather there,
And people smoke weed on the street there anyway. Yeah. I didn't tell you this, Kevin, when I went to the show that night, but just because you were so curious about the fact that we could just walk down the street and smoke. Oh yeah. When I was on my way to your show, I had just parked the car. I was walking a few blocks to the theater, and I was trying to light this little roach end of a joint before I went in, and it was so windy that I couldn't get my lighter to work. And this cop was like, "Hey, I've got one of those flameless lighters if you want me to light that for you." I was like, "No, it's okay." And he's like, "No, I insist." Came and lit my joint for me, and then proceeded to walk with me up the block. And I every time I would exhale, he would look around he knew there was a smell coming, but couldn't believe that it would be me or something. He was going to the show too, but he was working, so we just walked down the street. He lit my joint, and we walked to the show together. Basically,
a friendship into the sunset.
Yes, a fantastic commercial for why one should move to Washington.
Yeah, you can smoke weed with cops.
Yeah, where even the cops welcome you smoking weed.
But my morning.
All right, so wait, so that doesn't even. You guys are halfway through your day, and it's still you can't dump these kids off, right?
No.
There is no dumping of the kids off.
Well, my mornings
always here.
The difference between Kait and I think, is that I will always try to prioritize waking and baking. So I will step outside, have a J, and then start my day.
I'm with you, man.
But my kid also sleeps in. A little bit more, but yeah, that's because I just know that I am better for everybody in our households if I'm high.
Yes, I mean that's the thing. It's it's not selfish, because it's look, before I can be useful for anybody, I have to be useful for myself, and this is my function. This is how I get to where I'm useful to anybody else. I agree with you. I wake up early, and not because I want to smoke, but sometimes I'm just in bed. And, it'll be 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'm like, well, you could roll over and sleep for another hour, or you could just fucking start smoking, and everything will be, the day begins, the adventure begins and stuff. Yeah. So for me, it's much more luxurious, man. I right now I'll choose to fill my days with activities podcasting or writing or streaming. You guys don't even get the fucking choice of what to do with your day, because it sounds like even you referenced the kid having to go to Zoom school. Somebody got to set that up and shit
and
like
sit
that.
there and make sure it's done, or he's not doing something else.
And I know that I have the option to do that because frankly my husband was like, you need to be high because you're a terror to deal with if you're not. But also because I only have the one so there's 2 of us. We're not outnumbered yet, and
we're outnumbered.
That's right. You could always pass him back and forth like a football. And
on top of that, Kait and I are both, we work full time too. So in between all of this, we have to schedule. So that's why Kait, in the morning, she has those sacred hours where she can get some stuff done. And I do that late at night because I'm much more a night owl, and I'll sleep in if I can.
I go to sleep 8 p.m. if I could.
During this, you're also working as well still?
Yes.
Yeah.
From home?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I own my own business,
So wait, so now, all right, so in a world where you have to do the earning and the mothering on a regular basis without any sort of quarantine, now you have to do the earning and the mothering and the fucking schooling and the entertaining and all that shit. How fucking excited will you guys be to go back to work, man?
I just want daycare to be back open.
Yeah.
I just need like a break from the younger ones. Like I love them. They're very cute. But I just like, I need to remember what it feels like to miss my children.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so true. And that's something that, we take for granted in as much as like life up until this moment in time allowed you space to love people, like to miss people, to be like, oh, I like those people. Ever since the quarantine, you are face to face and nose to nose with people that you have to decide on a regular basis. Do I love them or do I tolerate this person? What is it?
I know. You learn really quickly.
I've said that to my son, to my youngest. He goes, I know like Ellie. Ellie is my daughter's name. And I'm like, why? He's like, she not nice. And I was like, well, you don't have to like her, but you do have to love her. Like,
totally.
he goes, okay.
And also I hit him back with like, I don't like you, but I fucking deal with you. So you deal with Ellie. Then he winds up on a therapist's couch years from now. So wait, what do you have to do for work in the midst of all this? Like, what is the job from home?
I own a company.
Yeah. She owns a company. I also work for a very large online retailer that is still open for business. So business as usual for us. But, yeah.
It's
so wait,
insane.
so and what are and do you guys have respective partners and shit, mates?
Yeah, totally.
Are you married?
Yeah.
Well, did they work as well?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
100%. And Eunice's husband like wasn't even home sometimes.
My husband,
Because he had to go into work still.
He works in finance, and he was still considered an essential, so he would still have to go into he still has to go to the office. So there's some days where it'd just be me, all my regular meetings, and a 3-year-old, and like me trying not to like cuss him out or cuss like my manager out on the phone, because I'm just like but yeah, it's crazy.
Jesus,
Yeah.
the kids, like all the pot in fucking Washington should be yours. That's
It should be
it's a lot to
should.
balance
Yes.
without fucking being stuck inside.
Yeah.
All I could do is compare it to my life, and I don't have the responsibilities professionally or personally that either of you seem to have. And I'm like, wow, this is easy. But like for you, it sounds fucking really, really hard.
Yeah, it sucks. It's really real. I mean, like, I'm not kidding. Like, yeah, it's horrible. You know what I mean? It's hard. I think it's really hard too as a parent. You keep having to tell your kids no, like, but for things that like you should be able to say yes to, like going for a bike ride to their friend's house. Or like we got a trampoline right when all of this went down, because I'm like, we need to have options. So
Nice.
We got a trampoline. They're like, why can't my friends come over and jump on the trampoline? Or we have a basketball hoop out front, and so they're like, why can't Miles come over and play? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just
When did your business begin?
mine.
Yeah.
Just about
January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, you fucking elected to open a business and you still got 3 kids at home?
Yep. I'm a bit of a
man, like-
masochist and a people pleaser. I am also an
Holy
accommodator.
shit.
I'm just kidding.
I felt like I was ambitious.
This was like a long time coming, though. It was a long time coming. It was a long time coming. It had been ramping. I had been doing it, I do retail consulting. And so I had been doing it just really, really low key with one brand for about the last year. And then things just really started taking off just through a bunch of really serendipitous things that when I was actually laid off from like my full-time gig that I was working right like during COVID, I kind of just fell into a really good groove, and then it's just still working, which feels really, really cool. But I totally want a tangent right now. Kevin, when you were in town and when we met you, like sitting in meetings and watching you like be the advocate that you are for yourself and like how much you like yourself was like super impactful for me.
Oh my God, you sound like my wife. You sound like my wife and my kid, but they don't say it as a positive.
That's so funny.
My kid is.
I'm
She's
like, oh
always
my
kind
God. But then like, I was like, why wouldn't Kevin Smith be Kevin Smith's biggest fan? And that like,
Oh,
was just
you have to be. Self-advocacy. Like, I mean,
No one
I'm
else
certainly
is gonna
not
love you as much as you love yourself. Like,
and you
Of
say that
course.
too to me all the time.
and I'm like,
Eunice is good about that.
I
I'm bad
love
about that.
myself almost as much as you love yourself, Kevin, I think. Maybe more.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the only person that you take this entire adventure with. You know, eventually we find somebody and we bind our lives together. Sometimes we make other people and whatnot, but cradle to grave, it's you. Like, you know how far you've gone in life because you know where you've come from and you know who you think you are at heart. Like, that's why when I couldn't, like, you know, I'm doing a buddy of mine is writing a book, a coffee table book. And so for the last 2 weeks, I've been doing like every day, 2-hour deep dive interview on like my career and stuff. So it's a long walk down memory lane.
That's awesome.
And the guy doing the book is going like, Jesus, man, you remember like with incredible detail shit that happened 26 years ago. And I was like, it was the story of my life. It changed everything. I never expected any of that to fucking happen. And like, as much as, you know, I don't know how I felt about myself then, since I was like coming out of high school and I was in my early 20s. I was probably uncertain of myself and whatnot. But I love that fucking young Kevin Smith kid now because I get to live a really sweet life that he laid the track for, man. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't know if he loved himself, but I fucking sure love him. And, you know, I love that this one has been able, the one that I am, has been able to keep it going. But it's not a gross kind of like, I advocate it for everybody. It's like, you got to love yourself, man, first and foremost, especially if you're in a business of being yourself. If you're selling yourself for your business or your business, you are the face of your business. How is somebody supposed to like want to be in business with you? Even look at you in the first place, feel any confidence about like, oh, I would like to kind of share space with this person or share finances with this person or invest in this person. If you don't even believe in yourself. And that doesn't mean lie. It doesn't mean like, oh, I could do things I can't. Like, I only sell what I know I got in the warehouse, but I got to sell it. Otherwise I can't expect other people to sell it. Like, I've lived in this life 26 years. I walk around, people have fucking t-shirts with my face on it. Like, you know, my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
literally wearing
the Peanuts
one.
version.
The Peanuts version of
I
you.
saw it. It was so awesome. And my kid tried to make fun of me like 2 weeks ago. You know, we were having this conversation where she said something about like, you know, she got a therapist and she said something about Jen, my wife, and like some very therapeutic term and shit. And I was like, oh, what's the term for me? Like, when you're in therapy, like, how am I described by your therapist and stuff? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, is it narcissistic? And she goes, yeah. And I said, why narcissistic? She goes, Dad, you wear t-shirts with your face on it. And I said, I didn't choose to do that. I said, we started a website back in 1995 and people asked us, what are you selling? And I said, I guess we're selling the idea of these movies. Like, have you seen Clerks? Have you seen Mallrats? And they said, no. Are you selling shirts, posters, whatever? So people started asking for stuff. And I was like, all right. So they're asking for shit. We'll make some shit. And, you know, their favorite character at that time was Jay and Silent Bob. So I wound up being on the shirts. And I'm trying to explain to the kid, like, I don't wear this because I'm like, look at me, I'm fucking proud of this. Although I am, don't get me wrong. I'm wearing this because if I expect anybody else to buy my fucking face and wear it on their body, they damn Skippy better see me doing it first. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially now in a world where not everyone's got like fucking throwaway money to spend on shit like that. So like, I am a big Kevin Smith fan. I love what he's done with his life and career. If I was not him, I'd be a fan, I believe. I don't even think Yoga Hosers would have thrown me. I think I would have liked that too.
So speaking of love, we have a question from a podcast that we actually like collaborate with. It's called the New Dad Pod. It's like real dad parenting tips. So he wanted to know, fuck, marry, kill, Jason Mewes, Jason Lee, Ben Affleck.
Oof, Jesus, that's a tough one. But I guess it's meant to be tough. Let me see. Fuck. I mean, you're tempted to say Affleck because he's just so pretty and stuff. But, you know, I mean, I've known him long enough, and we've done everything but. So I think I have to. Or do I marry Jay?
Aren't you guys married?
God,
you guys are really married. I think like it's like by law, right?
We are kind of we're common law married as we speak. Wait a second, fuck, this is actually difficult, man. Because Jay would be good for two of them. And I have been married to him, so maybe I should choose fuck just because I know what it's like to be married to him. But then again, in Fuck, Marry, and Kill, you're doing this forever. So it's like, this is somebody I got to be able to live with forever. And I do know all the Jason's ups and downs. And all right, I'm marrying Jason, which is weird. But that makes the most sense because I think we're practically married anyway. And we know each other well enough where it's not going to be like, if I married Jason Lee, I love Jason to death, but like, it's not like I see him all the time. So
he's not wife material, right?
Yeah. And for all I know, well, not even wife material. What if like,
he's like a side piece.
Yeah, maybe a side piece. What if he's like a guy that like, I just can't even spend time with? Like he watches
naked to take a shit or something and you don't know that,
Or what if he watches sports? Even worse. What if he's like, I love football, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, I can't be married to a football.
What if he hates the
lover.
Devils?
Look, I could even live with that. Everybody in the world hates the Devils. So I don't know if I could. That would be a deal breaker. I'm going marry Jason Mewes. Now it's like, who do you fuck, Jason Lee or Ben Affleck?
Oh, man.
I mean, fucking, and I don't want to then have to kill Jason Lee. There's no good reason for it. This is really tough. This is a real Sophie's choice right here. I don't even know what to do in this instance. I mean, just on a purely physical level, Affleck is very attractive to look at. So that's got to be the fuck card, right? And then Jason Lee only by default winds up being killed. God, this is bad. Please don't ever tell them what order they got.
Well, if it makes you feel better, he might be like grody and fart.
Hopefully not. This will come back to haunt me 10 years from now. Like I heard one day on a fucking podcast 10 years ago, you said you would have fucking killed me.
You could tell him it's because the other option, the alternative would have been risking him farting while you're giving him head.
So true. I learned that in a movie. Oh, wait. Good point, man. Good point. I need to make Mallrats 2, Twilight and the Mallrats. So I got to change my order. Jason Mewes, I marry because I just know him in and out. Jason Lee, I fuck because I need him around because we're doing Twilight of the Mallrats. Can't kill him. I could conceivably make Twilight of the Mallrats without Ben. So by default, he winds up being the kill. In my own selfish self-interest. But I think that's the point of that whole exercise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, another super fan had a question. My husband, who has a quarantine mustache right now, and my daughter hates it so much that she's actually learning to ride a bike to spite him so that he will shave it off. And
wait, why just a mustache? No beard?
A mustache. No, just a mustache.
It is a very full and thriving mustache, I have to say.
That is that must be alarming for a child because we don't live in the age of the mustache anymore. Like facial hair, yes, but the mustache sends a message to a kid. The beard says like, hey, this is natural. This is what happens when you don't shave. The mustache says, this is what happens when you shave, but you stop.
This implies laziness. I just couldn't go the a couple inches.
Or it's just a weird choice, like, but we grew up in a world of mustaches as kids. Now, not so much. I would imagine that would alarm the shit out of a kid. Yeah. Tell her to keep riding the bike. There are worse reasons to learn how to ride a bike other than I want to spite dad.
Yeah, I know. But it's funny that she's
she
like
hates
that
it that
much. Yeah. She also actually refers to herself as a potato. She asked if her real name could be Potato and her nickname could be Ellison.
Yeah, nice.
So his question was: is Ben Affleck actually funny, or are you just that good of a writer?
He is much funnier in real life than I actually throw out there for him. He's honestly one of the wittiest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. Legit laugh out loud funny. When he became super famous, he's then started, of course, to be a little more, this is how I present myself and whatnot. Movie stars don't get to be exactly who they are out in the real world, who they are in private, right? Mm-hmm. So I think of him as one of the funniest person I ever knew. And most other people never think about Ben Affleck like that. They think about him like, oh, he's a good actor. Oh, he directed Argo. Oh, he's real pretty. Or, oh, but they like, or if they've seen him on, Real Time with Bill Maher, they're like, oh, he's incredibly fucking politically astute and shit. He's well educated. But very few people go like, he's fucking hysterical. And he is. He's one of the funniest people I've ever met, like right up there with Jason Mewes. But he doesn't, I guess, have to play the funny card. Like, my whole fucking life, I've got no other cards to play but the funny card. I guess Ben's got a full house of everything else, so funny doesn't even enter the equation. He can be charming, you know, he's great on talk shows, he's wonderful on SNL, he could be funny there. But he doesn't have to resort to being a comic or being as funny as he is in private. He can actually save that for his real life and the people who he knows, as opposed to me. I spend it everywhere and stuff. That's my currency in this life. This has been like, I don't go to therapy, but I'd imagine I just had a breakthrough of some sort if I did.
That does sound very therapy. Like, yes.
It really did. I just realized.
I feel like there's just a weight off of all of our shoulders.
Well,
really.
the whole time I was just thinking, oh, I think of Ben Affleck as almost marrying J-Lo. Like,
yes, there's that we could have added that to the list, but still you would have thought of that before you would have thought he's fucking hysterical. And in my head, that's like one of the first descriptors of Ben. Like, he's very funny. So yeah, you can report he's very funny. However, you can also report that I'm something of a clever writer. So in my stuff, I help quite a bit making it funny.
Awesome. Okay, so we have, do you like games? I guess I should even ask.
he has games.
Yeah, sure.
Also.
Absolutely. I mean, Fuck, Marry, Kill was one of those. Wasn't it?
Right.
Yes. We
I
have
just
a-
didn't,
And it was a real brain burner, man. Like, crisis of conscience. I'm still dealing with the fallout.
right? So we play a game called Fake or Real Strain Name Game, and we have like certain additions. So we've done like Crayola crayons or a strain name of pot.
Pornos, titles, or strain name.
What was it?
Porno.
That's
Porn
awesome.
titles. Yeah, we did porn titles or strains. We know that you're really into comics, and so we wanted to know if you would like to play kind of a twofold game. Is it a comic book or is it a strain? You have to call out which is which, and then which one is both.
Oh, done and done.
Okay.
No guarantees. I'm certainly not saying that with overconfidence. Like, I got this,
It
but
just
it
sounds
fun.
fun, right?
Yeah,
A
totally.
bunch of moms, you know. We'll have a bridge club by next month.
If you want to start a bridge club, you have to let go either your business or one of your children. You can't do all these things.
Oh my God, I know. Oh my God, I'm not kidding.
Right?
We haven't
That's what I
literally
tell
last
her.
night. My husband, I was stressed out, and he's like, "Yeah, you're stressed out. You're doing too much." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I know, but I don't know how to stop."
Take it from someone who spins a lot of plates. Like, I can only do that because I know that, like, I can lay down a lot of other burdens or lay them off on my wife or other people and stuff like that. But man, you're stacking your deck. Like, just, you got to pick your times carefully. Don't start a bridge club. That's all I'm saying.
And also, do you know how to play bridge?
I don't.
See?
I know. I remember euchre and spoons.
I know, right?
I like spoons. A spoons club.
A spoons club.
Okay, so I'm going to give you two different names and just pick one that you think. You can either pick the one that you think is a strain or the one that you think is a comic, whichever you feel. If you want to choose comic, I guess maybe. You say which one you think is the comic out of the two.
Okay.
Okay. So, between these two, Dr. Bong and Big Smooth, which is the comic book character?
Dr. Bong. He comes from Howard the Duck.
You're right. All right, Eunice, you have to
the
keep score.
Duck. Yes, Howard the Duck, which I'm excited to. I was so excited about the animated series.
I know they killed it. Hulu killed it. So it's not going to happen, sadly. But I'm working on Masters of the Universe over at Netflix, so it's copacetic. But yeah, they killed it. And Dr. Bong was our big bad guy and stuff. And for those following along who are not familiar with the character, he has nothing to do with weed whatsoever. His head is a giant bell. That's why he's called Dr. Bong.
Oh, that's pretty funny. I was like, really? It's about a bong. All right.
Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that the creator of the character, which is probably Steve Gerber, wasn't implying or found a very creative way to slip the word bong into a very fucked up comic book and stuff with a very innocent, like, no, he just has a bell for a head. But yeah, in the comics, he's just represented as that,
are
not
sheep.
weed oriented.
All right. Out of Bodie McBoatface or Pink Pearl, which one is the comic book character?
Pink Pearl.
Yes. You're 2 for 2.
I only knew that because Bodie McBoatface was that's a relatively recent thing. There was that online contest to name a boat. I think it was in England or something like that, an official government boat. And they let it to the internet, and the internet fucking voted Bodie McBoatface.
Can you believe that?
It's a true story. And then they were like, we're not going to do that.
That's what scares me, like about the whole future.
What?
I mean, but in that instance, I'll take that kind of anarchy, that kind of controlled, fuck your boat, call it Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah. And then we're going to make a strain.
I guess I kind of want to know what were they expecting? Like something respectful? I don't know.
Probably. They were like, oh, I'm sure they'll nominate a national hero or something. I mean, they're lucky they weren't like the Spider-Man or something like that. Bodie McBoatface, which they kept as a co-title. They eventually had to call it something else, but they also kept it as Bodie McBoatface.
Because no captain wants to call that in when he's trying to talk. He's like,
I would love to be the captain of Bodie McBoatface.
I would.
You'd be a rock star.
Go right. I know. I'd love
It'd
to
have
take
to be a party
nice
boat.
sail on Bodie
Exactly.
McBoatface.
Okay. The next one. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
You're 2 for 2. All right. Galactic Jack or Dream of the Endless?
Dream of the Endless is a comic book.
Yes. You're 3 for 3.
Look at this. Oh, my God. I feel so fucking accomplished. I didn't even leave
should.
my house.
You're so intelligent.
I'm so trained for this. As long as people ask me very specific questions, I can be the smartest person in the room.
Totally. Especially if you're the only one in the room.
Exactly. If I'm alone, generally, I got a 50-50 shot of being the smartest guy in the room.
All right. Heavy Flow or Professor Chaos?
Professor Chaos is the comic book character.
No, it's the strain.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Heavy Flow is a character, comic book character?
She is from
Wow.
a Image Comics series called Savage Dragon.
Oh,
And
Eric
her
Larson.
fire. She's a villain, and her superpower is like drowning people in menstrual blood.
Oh, wow.
It's tied to it? Oh, wow.
I feel like it has to be. There's not much more you can convey with a name like that.
Heavy Flow.
No doubt. Fuck, man. I've fallen by one. Damn it.
It's okay. That was the tricky one because Image Comic, I don't know that's as well known.
I mean, they're huge.
I mean,
don't
they are,
don't
but
get me
that
wrong.
series in
But
particular.
I didn't fuck with Image as much as I fucked with DC and Marvel my whole life.
Yep.
But hats off to Eric Larson, creator of Savage Dragon and Heavy Flow. Apparently his time has come.
All right. Last one. 3 right, 1 wrong. Mr. Nice or Moon Knight?
Well, Moon Knight's comic book character.
Yes. You did really good.
That was really good.
I mean, 4 out of 5 is not bad, but still, I feel like I feel like I lost a little credibility with the '90s indie comics crowd.
Oh my God. First we can't do video, then we do this. I literally
It's
wrote
such a
on a piece
letdown.
of paper. I wrote on a piece of paper next to Eunice that said, "He hates us, LOL."
I was like, no, you
Oh, not at all. Are you kidding me? This is such a joy to sit around and talk weed. And also, you gave me a healthy dose of perspective that I'm then going to go pass on to my wife because I was like, I just talked to the pop moms. Let me tell you their horrible day.
I was going to say, oh my God, yes, give her that perspective.
Would your wife want to come talk to us on the show?
She would, but she's not a pot person. She's
It's okay. She could talk about living with a pot person and being
I will
a mom.
oh my God, she'll have lots to tell you. I will totally ask her, man. We just got back to. We used to do a show called Plus One, a podcast for years, and then we stopped. And then over at, we just opened up that Kevin Smith Club over at my website. Mm-hmm. She started doing the podcast again with me. So we're 2 episodes back into it. And it's my favorite podcast I do. I do a bunch of podcasts, but it's my favorite one I do because it's the one that is closest to me. Like on the other ones, I get to perform more, but she's not into any of my shit. She doesn't fucking talk comics.
Like,
so she forces me to be more myself and stuff. So it's fun. But I'll ask her, if she wants to come on.
We are also.
You got to get Jordan though. She's a pop
I
mom. She
know,
runs
we
our
love Jordan. We met her when we were in
text
LA.
Jordan that
She's
I'm
lovely.
I'm obsessed with you all the time. I'm like, Jordan, we're gonna be best friends.
She is awesome. She's
And I'm like, you need to stop creeping her out.
And then I'm like, don't be scared.
She is a pop mom she just don't broadcast it as much. But
Which
she's
is,
definitely
it's hard to do it. I mean, me doing this was like to a lot of people who didn't know me on that level, like them knowing that I was smoking weed. And I mean, Yeah, it's crazy.
I remember when I quote unquote came out. It was scary for me too. I was we'd been recording Smodcast, the podcast that I do with Scott Mosier, for years at that point. Let me see. We started in 2007, and I started smoking weed on the regular basis at the end of 2008. So in the early 2009, I had to break it to the audience. And, you know, I was afraid that the audience was going to judge me and be like, because I'd never been a stoner. I made movies about stoners, but, you know, I'd never been a stoner myself. And so for a while, I was afraid to let it be known. And I used to smoke cigarettes on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So you would always hear, you know, me lighting the lighter. So when I switched over to weed, and once I switched to weed, I stopped smoking cigarettes and stuff. That part didn't change. You would always hear the lighter. But the conversations got way more fucked up. And stuff. So I, after a couple months, I did an episode, I think it was called Smod Cushed, where I finally came out and I was like, I have been smoking weed on a regular basis, wake and bake stoner for the last few months, and this is who I am, and this is my big declaration episode. And I'll be honest, there were a few people that were turned off by it. A few people who were like, oh, for God's sakes, yes, for real. There were some people that were like, you know, you realize, like, the rest of the world doesn't look like where you live. Like, you know, granted, this was years ago before weed went legal, but, you know, we're in California, you're in Washington. Like, these are places where it's easier to smoke weed than it had been in other parts of the country and stuff. And in those other parts of the country, you know, it's got a reputation that goes back to the 80s. It's right there with weed and with cocaine and heroin and stuff. So there was definitely a bit of a fall off. Some people that left who were like, I'm not down with this. And you can definitely find people online who will cite me becoming a stoner as the beginning of, like, his movies. Now they all suck since he became a stoner. But to be fair, they were saying my movies sucked before I became a stoner as well.
So fucking judgmental. Like,
But it's
because that's all we got.
Yeah.
It's the great distraction, you know, because otherwise you're forced to fucking what?
Look in
Deal
the
with
mirror.
Look
your
at
day
yourself,
where you've got
yeah.
27 things to do, or deal with your own demise ultimately.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. The only thing I try to tell people, like, when they kind of come after me and whatnot, because I got a lot of experience now. I've been dealing with this shit for like 26 years. It's like, you could take that energy. Like, I get it. You don't like me, whatever I represent. You hate me. You're mad at me, whatever the fuck. Instead of just coming at me and saying some shitty things on the internet, use that as fuel. Because if you're looking at me and you're like, he's not worthy. Why him and why not me? That should be a light to you. It should be like, look, if a fucking chimp like Kevin Smith can make it work, then a genius like me can put it together and whatnot. Use me as the hate fuel that gets you to your fucking dream. But if you're just going to sit there, spin wheels and being like, you suck and here's 10 reasons why, you're wasting that good energy. I take energy like that, competitive energy. That makes me do shit. That makes me go, oh, fuck, I want to do something new. That's like the feeling I get when I'm sitting around watching TV. I can't do it for too long because I'm like, motherfucker, you could do this for a living. Stop watching and go make something and stuff. So I don't get it. I don't understand how after all this time, the negative people can't fucking make the simple leap of, like, the energy I'm about to put into putting this hostility into the world via a fucking tweet or a fucking message on a board or a fucking comment or something. I could literally turn into the raw, powerful fuel to take me someplace else towards something I want to do, something I'm not known for doing, step outside my box. Because if fucking idiots like these people online that I hate can do it, then I should be able to do it. But they don't make that same leap, man. And that's why they just sit there carping and saying shitty things. If you're listening to this, kids, and you think, like, you know, yeah, but it's fun to make fun of shit. Sure it is, but that's its own reward. That's all you get out of it. Instead, if you take that fucking,
making someone feel like butt.
Well, that and it's the easier, lazier choice, right? It's because you don't. Yeah.
It is. It's the lazier choice, and there must be some joy. You know, the Schadenfreude. People must get off on watching somebody else get hurt. Adds a little bit of power to their day, but it's fast slipping power. It means nothing. The moment you sign off of your fucking computer, it's done. You want real power? You take that fucking envy, you take that hate, you take that enmity, and you turn it into fuel to make something. Listen to these ladies right here. One motherfucker's got 96 kids and she started a business. And we're in the middle of a
full-time job. Don't forget about that.
On top of that as well. So like, you can't sit around and say that it can't be done. There are people that like do, and those people that do, the big secret, you know, people are always like, why them? Here's why. Because they would never waste their fucking time sitting around and going like, oh, you know what sucks? That fucking thing. Like, that's the trap. You fall into that trap, you don't get to do things. You don't move forward. And if you like attacking people, congrats, because you're going to get to do that for the rest of your fucking life and not move forward. You want to move forward, stop fucking paying attention to what other people are doing and do your own fucking thing. Nose down, stick on the fucking ice. Christ's sakes, man. It's a very simple equation, but a lot of people can't put it together. You know who can? Fucking stoners. We get it, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
But it's like kind of goes back to what you said, like when the first couple times that you really like loved pot is because you loved yourself. And I think that's one of the things that pot does is just lets me be me. And I love me so much that, you know, it's easier for me to not be distracted or to really, really tune out or utilize, you know, or take, you know, negative feedback and try to do something with it. Like I literally let myself pout about it for like a hot second, and then I'll go smoke, get high, and then I forget why I was so upset, you know? So
it's a wizened way to live, man. And anybody out there who'd be like, oh, all this